So welcome, Jamie McAinsh from the Marketing Clan, New South Wales South Coast. I'm always interested to chat to businesses that are doing things a little bit differently. And of course, you've made the tree change. I believe that you once lived and worked in a very different environment, and now you've come to a new environment. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your background, Jamie?
Yeah, sure, Kerry, and thanks for having me. And my change came about in 2013, and I was working in the Middle East in Dubai for a multinational ad agency. My wife and I had two small kids in what we called the sandpit, and we wanted to get back to Australia, to home, so the kids could grow up in a place that was a little bit more conducive to outdoor activities, because obviously it got very hot in the summer over there. So we took the idea of moving outside of Sydney. We did have a house in Sydney, but my wife's family were down in Vincentia on the South Coast within the Shoalhaven. And I'd already come down here for years and years before to go diving and absolutely loved the place. So we thought it would be a good place to have a little bit of a sea change, but also get some support from the grandparents as well.
Smart move.
Yeah, yeah, very a massive cultural shift, coming from a city that doesn't sleep to regional Australia, regional New South Wales. So it was quite a scary move, to be honest with you, but have never looked back. It's been absolutely fantastic since we moved on.
So did you think about what you were going to do before the move, or you just took that leap of faith, thought lifestyle change, move out of Sydney, Dubai? Had you thought about what you were going to do before you made the move?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I had the idea of just freelancing for a while for ironically, one of my old clients who contacted me as I was moving back to Australia. And that sort of spurred the idea of being able to do that on a freelance basis, which was marketing, communications, advertising, and those sorts of things. When we moved to the area, I felt that there was an opportunity to do more of that. And I noticed a bit of a gap in the market. Having worked for big blue chip companies for my career, it dawned upon me that there were no real traditional advertising or communications agencies in the area that I moved to. And I felt that was a little bit unfair, that small business or small to medium-sized enterprises couldn't get access to skill sets from a creative or a marketing point of view. So after doing a little bit of research and speaking to some people who had grown up here and then got into business, often most of those were friends of my wife's from school, it became more and more apparent to me that we could actually create something that added value to these local businesses and offered a traditional agency model whereby you'd have a creative team, strategy, and all those sorts of things, as opposed to what we found. There were lots of really, really good, talented freelancers and independent operators, but there's no real orchestration of something as a complete team. That a small business that may or may not have had a marketing department, or they didn't have time, or they just didn't really know how to navigate that whole process from brand strategy through to execution of ad campaigns and those sorts of things. So that was pretty much the catalyst for creating the Marketing Clan. And yes, there is a bit of Scottish heritage within the name, but also the model itself really became important for this group of people who had worked together for years before in previous lives in corporate, and wanted to do the same great work for smaller business, because that's where the real passion lied, especially for me, because there were lots of really interesting businesses down here, and it just, the more you peel away the layers of regional areas and communities, there's some fascinating things that go on here. So this model of having a number of people within the team that could then be brought together for a small to medium-sized business that didn't necessarily have to commit, the company didn't have to commit to paying for the entire agency. It was more about paying for the skill sets and the value that they could be adding to the business.
So looking at your website, there's all these lovely smiling faces there, and we'll call them all different skill sets. So basically, depending on your business needs, a client that comes to you, you can pluck that person, and that person to, or it could be just one, even depending on their needs, to deliver the service.
Yeah.
And these people live all over the place.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I think it's important that we try and bring in skill sets from the local area as well, because obviously that one of the key drivers is to increase the skill sets, but also grow the economy with local talent. But to start with, the clan, and I guess the core members of the clan, namely my wife and I, and people who have been living in Sydney. I've worked with some people in Melbourne, and then locally as well, within the Shoalhaven and within the area. So, as you said, it's very much about what the client needs, then determines, based on the business problem, what strategy then needs to be developed and what execution. Now, I can't say we do every single thing possible, because we certainly don't have a TV production arm and those sorts of things. So we then find, partners that we can then use alongside us, who are, as much as we can locally, to then facilitate a full team. And those kind of companies that we work with, you've obviously got to trust them, because they're working with you and on behalf of you for client work. So we often use specialist skill sets that we don't necessarily have in-house, and that's happening today.
So as you're approaching it, and obviously you worked in the industry, you've said you've used your own network of people that you found or sourced in the local area. Do you have, what is the legal structure, or what sort of agreement? Is it just a trust and a handshake, or have you taken that formal line with them? Do you have shared values? I'm just interested to see how structured the model is.
I think in terms of the structure of the people that we work with and within the clan, there's a trust element. You've got, because it's our business, we need to be able to trust the people that are doing the work with us and on our behalf. They do what they say they will do, and that when we have meetings with clients, that you're completely in the hands of someone who is doing that with you or for you. There's no contractual agreements, especially with the long-standing relationships that we've had with the team, because they're, ultimately they are good friends that we've created over years of working together. And that's the beauty of it. And the one thing that is really important is that not only is there a level of trust, but we really understand how each of us works. So there is, complete confidence in not only things like creative output or strategic thinking, or getting the jobs done on time. That's a given. But yeah, whilst there is a clan where there is a group of people, we share the same values, and we just love doing really great work that helps solve a problem for a business, and we have fun doing it along the way. And we don't take ourselves too seriously, but obviously we take our work really, really seriously, and that's the bit of a balance, with what we do.
So it must be a big culture shock walking away from that corporate high-end environment to one of trust and values and lifestyle choices. So you've been on this journey for how many years so far? Has it changed a lot along the way, or it stayed true to its path?
Look, I guess it's been 8 years since we started the marketing clan. And it's been a bit bumpy. As I said, it was a big risk to go in feet first, with we supported it ourselves financially. I got a casual job at the local Navy base as a safety diver to bring some cash in the door, and really a lot of risk at the very beginning, and also. So
where was the risk? You say risk. Did you have to invest money, or was the risk of the unknown of where the income would get it up and running?
A bit of both, Kerry. We put money, we put our hands in our own pockets to fund some of it. you know, anyone who starts up a new business knows there's an awful lot to do, and we'd never done that before. We'd always relied on, you know, an employer or corporate, and that was all fine. You got paid on the payday, and when there's no money coming in, there's no money coming in. So you have to try and find ways to meet the bills and so forth. So to start with, it was I guess the challenge was trying to get across to a lot of local small business the value of what we do, because some of it was very intangible to them. So, you know, things like the importance of brand, the importance of having a consistent brand communication strategy, not just marketing material, which, you know, a lot of people felt marketing was a brochure or an ad, you know, and as you know,
a Facebook post.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just so much more to it, and we only occupy a small space of what marketing truly is. You know, in the one of the P's, promotional part. But what we did is we managed to have conversations, you know, serious conversations with senior people within business owners, MDs, CEOs, to really try and identify what their business problems were, as opposed to saying, hey, have you got a brief? Because more often than not, the thing that they thought they need is often the thing they didn't need the most. It was more about other aspects of their business, which, you know, sometimes we're able to solve quickly, and other things that we had to spend a lot of time working with them. So yeah, it changed. And the other, I guess the journey so far has been really exciting, and we've got to work with some pretty fascinating people and organizations. But it's you know, running your own shop. It's nerve-wracking, it's busy, you've got to do lots of different things, and that's what makes it exciting. But every day is different. And I think that in the aspect of, you know, working in this industry, we're not concentrating on one client, one brand all the time. There's diversity, there's excitement, there's new challenges that, you know, you can adopt and apply certain learnings that, you know, from the days of corporate in the big city. And that thinking, I think that's really important, that it wasn't really I think available locally in terms of the sort of bigger picture thinking that business owners are really after.
And the potential of businesses out in the region is just as great as those in the city, but having access to these services. So you've jumped ahead and answered some of my questions, because what a smart move. Go and ask them what their needs are rather than just ask them for a brief, because convincing you know, small to medium business owners, in my experience, are so busy doing, in the back of their mind they're thinking, yes, I really should work on my business, and yes, I should get some help and assistance in this, but it's not enough to put on a full-time person to do it for us. But who do we trust? Where do we go? There's so much out there. And that's just the normal life of a business owner, which you've started to experience yourself, all these, you know, tensions and tasks that need to be done on your business as well as in your business. So have you noticed a difference? Are you seeing a culture change? You know, you've been on the ground for a while. Are there, do you think a success or a satisfied client is helping to, how do you reach the other customers?
Yeah, it's a very good point. And I think, you know, anywhere in the world where you're doing business, it all comes down to your last job and your credibility and capability. And more importantly, when you move to a new region, you've moved from a different country, and you're trying to convince someone that they need to do something in order to grow their business. There's an awful lot of trust involved. And I was very fortunate enough to meet some local business owners who gave us a shot, and you know, one job led to another, and you know, with fantastic results where the business owner was delighted in what we did, and so there becomes the spokesperson for what you do. And you know, referral, word of mouth is by far the most valuable and rewarding marketing that you can ever get. So we make a concerted effort to ensure that when we have finished work, we develop a case study so that we can explain what the challenge was, what strategy we approach with, how do we creatively execute it, and more importantly, what the results were, because that's the proof. The proof is in the results, and also the feeling and I guess the pride of the company that have done well, and they want to share those and celebrate those wins, and so that in turn helps us then convince other people, oh well, if it worked for them, then maybe it can work for us as well. And that's how it's progressed. And I think the other important thing is that moving to a community, regional area, it's so important to get really involved with community, and that's not just to turn up. You have to lean in, you have to contribute, whether it be within local business networks or I've run workshops for small business through the local chamber. I've done mentoring for the Professional Business Association here, and just lend a hand where you can. And again, yeah, it's time consuming, but the rewards are incredible when it comes to being seen as someone who does help and to really sort of make the effort. And you have to, otherwise you can go by and no one will even notice you, because you become, you can become someone who is quite influential in your space of industry. But you also have to be lending a hand as well. And other things like getting involved in the school, and, because the kids, they help you meet more people. But I also have to thank my wife for introducing me to a lot of her old school friends who they gave us a shot to start with.
So you started off in business. What did you do to help skill yourself up on the business side of things? Did you need any help, or you've just dived in and did it, or did you seek any assistance for yourself?
Yeah, look, I had an eye. The model that we have as an agency, it's not new. The new thing was that we created a virtual agency even before COVID started to disperse people back into the homes. And what that meant was it worked really well, because there was that flexibility and versatility with the team, which the client liked, because I'm pretty much the facilitator and the orchestrator of the team. So you always get to speak to a senior person. But when we went into developing our own thing, it was like, where do we do this? How do we do this? So sure, speaking to lawyers and accountants, the accountants are absolutely brilliant in telling you what you can and can't do and what you should do. So you need to really sort of rely on specialists to do that for you. And it's like we talk to our clients, and one of my first clients said, well, I hire an accountant for all my tax and all my financial planning. I get a lawyer to do all my legal matters. Why wouldn't I get a specialist marketing person to come and help with my marketing? It kind of makes sense. And the other thing was that there are lots of resources through the Shoalhaven Business Chamber, the Shoalhaven Professional Business Association, to really help people who want to network, to get some bit of a hand on certain things you weren't familiar with or you're uncomfortable doing, bookkeeping to start with, those sorts of things. So the model of the agency was all okay. It was all, we knew about that. It was really about the sort of bigger business side of things.
Yeah, the tin tacks of business and getting
Absolutely.
that. Yeah. Sounds great. And yes, the resources are, most towns, cities want to help, and you tap into those resources. They're there and very generous with their time. So a great move. Now, I'm very sorry we didn't get to meet Belinda, whose name is on your screen, but we do realise you're Jamie, the other part of that partnership. But sounds like it's been a great journey. Now, I know you have a space, so you have diversified in your business interests a little bit. Do you just want to quickly explain what you've done to add to your business model in a slightly different way?
Yeah, slightly different way. So when we first started, we were working from home in a small office where it's just distracting. And what happened was, those two key things. One was the kids didn't know when I was at work and not at work. And secondly, I became very aware of mental headspace with regards to not physically seeing people. And again, this is before COVID, right? And having worked in, agencies where you've got 50, 60, 100 people, there's a lot of stuff going on all the time. So then just being transported into your home office, it was quite isolating. So a small office came available in a shop up in Huskerson. So I took that on, and then we started to think, well, hang on a minute, there's more people out there who are freelancers, who are at home suffering from the same issues, want to try and connect with other people. So we launched a co-working space called the Greenhouse, and we're here at the moment. So I operate from here. It's great because I can bring clients here, and it's not the home office. So it's a proper setup co-working space with hot desks, a meeting room. We're about to put a kitchen in next month. So we found that there are a lot more people out there suffering from the same issues that I was facing with, I guess, isolation. But more importantly, just getting together and being able to share ideas. I mean, Matt and I, that we run this place together. We're always just saying, hey, what do you think about this? What, and it just creates ideas, and it's a creative space as well. So that's really important for what we do, both from a mental health perspective, but it's a great environment, and we get to look at the sea every day, which is a pretty good view.
Pretty nice. And you've got a beautiful office space, and others contribute to the cost of it. So
that's right. Yeah. And it's available for, we've had community meetings in here, local chamber, school teachers have used it, but with more and more people coming to have a holiday down in Jervis Bay, I think there's a lot of people who are a lot more comfortable with spending Friday and Monday away from the office, but they can do it from here because we've got a pretty quick internet speed, which you don't necessarily get in every place that you stay. And again, it's an inspiring place, and that's why we love it.
Yes, we all love our rural and regional Australia. So there must have been a bump along the way, a big challenge. What has been the most difficult thing for you to have to deal with?
Yeah, I think that I'd probably argue every month is a challenge, but I think, COVID really threw a spanner in the works because people weren't at work, weren't at the office. They were kind of immediately reacting by reducing budgets. I mean, some organizations that we don't work with, smaller operations were, they were threatened with closing their doors forever. So it was a really, really tricky time. And, we felt it as well, because without a regular income, without retained clients, then we've got to find revenue from somewhere. So it was pretty tricky. Things are looking up really, really well now, which is really exciting. And also when you have a relationship with clients and then they change their strategy, or they don't necessarily want to use an external party anymore because they think they can do it internally, again, that's a bit of a threat. So that, threats come from everywhere. Threats come from competitors, and also clients thinking they can do it themselves. But yeah, like most people, COVID was a bit of a bump, but it also provided some real opportunities as well. So yeah, it's a bit of a balance.
Well, welcome to the world of business is all I can say. Worrying about cash flow, all of those things.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Part and parcel. Yeah. Do you feel like you've toughened up and changed your, I guess, demeanor about how you cope with those constant pressures, or or is it still there, or do you think you're handling it better as you go further down the track?
I work out a lot. That kind of sorts a lot of the stress out. And I think you always have to really go back to the reason why we're doing what we're doing, and that is to be able to live and work in a beautiful place like we do, that we can knock off and go and pick the kids up from school. So I think it's really important just to pinch yourself and remember why you're doing it, and the days that you're able to really help a company that either doesn't have a clue or they don't have time, and especially in the not-for-profit sector, it's really valuable. And I absolutely adore working with some of these companies. So yeah, it's just resetting and making sure that you've got all the people around you that can help support indirectly and directly, and just lend a hand, because you know that one day you'll need a hand back, and often, you know, karma does work.
Look, it's been fabulous chatting with you, Jamie. I didn't have to ask too many questions at all. You answered them all before I even put them to you. So thank you. It's been great chatting with you. And one day I might even call in and have a look at that view out across Jervis Bay myself, and see how you're traveling. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.